Hi niihkas. Well, second video in the day. And really the reason I'm doing this one is because I'm procrastinating figuring out what's wrong with the table of contents that I'm trying to create. It's trying to make things easier for people to sift through all of my stuff, and I can do it in Word, but getting it done in WordPress and on YouTube, it just keep getting error messages. And I'll figure it out. I actually found the videos to watch, but I'm going to procrastinate and do this while my Trump no tolerance policy is being uploaded. So just as a disclaimer, I don't have a script for this one, and so I'm probably going to ramble, which I tend to do, but I might be a little bit more distracted. This whole day, unfortunately, has been sort of a not great pain day. I wish it was a payday. But it's been a rough one. It's just with the front stuff, and so I may drift a little bit more, and so I apologize for that, and anything that might not make sense, obviously, as usual, feel free to ask me to clarify. But, and just to add, don't worry, I have medical professionals I'm talking to with different focuses, and I'm going to be okay. This is just normal stuff. Well, normal when you have fibro and the like, but that's another discussion. Anyway, so when I was working on this piece, I have some really great writing friends, folks who I get to chat with on an almost daily basis, and you know exactly who you are. I love them to pieces, and we talk about, what are you working on today? Oh yeah, what are you working on? And kind of push each other, which is really great. Like one of them's telling she's got this game lit story with this ex-military prisoner who, there's a tattoo identification that I thought was pretty cool, and there's dragons, which you know how I feel about dragons, and there's a desert, and there's cultures, and there's all of these wonderful things to dig into. And I have another friend who's working on this steampunk story that's really got the ornate train, and I think there's some ghosts and phantoms, and there might be a distinction between the two, and just really can't wait to, when I have friends who have some amazing stories that are coming out, and I really can't wait to promote them to all of you, because you're gonna love them. Anyway, as we were talking about these, we were sharing like, oh, what's going on with you, and I mentioned that I'm planning on doing, I was thinking about doing this article, but it takes a lot of time to write those, because I try to do a lot of research. And not most, I had a couple friends who were just like, oh yes, you should, you absolutely should do that, and they told me it's probably going to be long, and and they read it. Oh my goodness, they did read it, and that thing was over 6,500 words. And then I had another group of friends who were telling me, don't do it, and they had and these came from places of love, and this was not cruel or harsh or anything like that. All it was that they had some concerns, and I've just been thinking about those concerns. The first one was, you have too much on your plate. Okay, really? I mean, here's my to-do list, which is enormous, but I have my to-do today, would be nice, should do, must do, avoiding to do but need to do at some point, and so I kind of have it broken down like that, though not always consistently, and that helps me to focus. And like today, I couldn't sleep much. I mean, when I did sleep, it was actually pretty deep, so that was good, but I was up and I was ready to get stuff done, and so I got my writing tasks done, and I got a lot of the law stuff done, and had some other things crop up, but that's okay. So I found time for it, and for me, these are great challenges, because I'm passionate about the issues, but also it helps me to confront some of my fears, and it makes me put myself out there, which is good practice for what I want to do. Now, the other concern was, you're going to get bullied or harassed, and you know what, it's the internet, that happens. I mean, I've gotten so many death threats. Oh, some of them are actually pretty funny. Like, I could tell stories, and I will sometime, just not now. Anyway, the death threats can be, don't make death threats. Just a side note, don't do it, you shouldn't do it, but some of these people are so inept, it's like, I'm thinking of Psych with Tim Curry's character in season 2, which is hilarious. Anyway, so that wasn't a big one, and also, to be clear, I don't consider bullying disagreeing with me. Ignorance, frustration, annoyance, all of those things, I don't particularly enjoy them, but I don't see that as bullying and harassment. That takes another level, even if I think you are 100% wrong. So, the other thing was actually the one that got me thinking, and that was that doing this particular post would hurt my brand. Now, I think that's a really interesting question, and I know they're right. There's case studies that'll back them up on this. It generally works better if you have a focused brand. You tell people this is what you can expect from me. That way they know, and they're not, what on earth are you doing here? So, recipes and cats and fiction might be one possibility, but you keep other things out. And, I've always struggled with brands, and I've struggled with niching and all of that because, well, I tend to be a passionate individual who goes in a lot of directions. I mean, if you probably picked up on that. And I was just thinking, well, what if this is part of my brand? I mean, I love discussing philosophy and religion and history and difficult topics, and I know there's often not easy answers, and I enjoy that in addition to fiction and all of the wonderful stories that are out there. And as I was as I was pushing through, it was really interesting to consider that maybe this is who I am, that my readers, even though, yes, my friends are right, I want to be an author, I am an author, I love being an author, it is probably one of my favorite things to do in the world, and one day when I'm a mother, I will need to caveat that for my children, but it's incredibly rewarding, and I do want that. And so they're correct that, yeah, I could lose readers by talking about these issues, and I also could get readers, or I could get subscribers or people who really aren't into what I'm doing. And so it's not that they're people who don't have value, don't get me wrong, they're just not my core audience, and they're not going to help me build, but they make a nice number, I guess, but I would argue they're good for other parts of the discussion. And I thought, maybe those are risks that I can deal with, because I'm not always able to talk about everything that happens. I'm not a news station, and there are people who do a much better job with this, even, and actually I would say especially on the YouTube format, but even on like other platforms like Twitch and so on like that. And while I'm not that, I write all of these articles and then I stick them away because I think they're not timely. And then some of them I realize that's just a false association because, the 13 things I wish I knew about depression or fibromyalgia, those are actually rather timeless. And then like with this immigration article, I was ready to just put it away because, well, it's, I was editing it when I heard that Trump had put out the executive order. And I still have to read that, and we'll see what happens. I know there's some other things going on. So oftentimes I'm not right on time. Additionally, the first thing I'll do, I don't always post about everything I'm doing, politically and socially and such like that, partially because not that social media isn't valuable and not that blogging isn't valuable, but for me there are other steps that are a little bit more valuable and that I want to get the time in on them. So if there are specific needs and things that I can do, I'll try to meet those before I spend the time researching and writing. But again, I do think that these are important. I just want to make sure I get everything done in that right order. And sometimes I completely do it my own way. And other times, I can't deal with it for various reasons in a social media way, because helping the individuals in actual life, like making sure they're okay, everything is as good as I can make it for them, it just takes up the rest of the time. But maybe that's not a problem. I don't have to cover everything, but what I do cover, well, even if it's a little late, as long as I haven't promised you guys that it's going to be cutting news. The only thing I hope to be cutting news on are actually the stories that I'm working on. If somebody else gets information on that, well, I'm not sure where to look. That'd be interesting. So, I think actually it's okay that, yeah, I've never been particularly good at marketing or branding. And I think I'm okay with that because I'd rather talk to you guys about some of these issues, and I don't want anyone to ever feel betrayed, like, oh my goodness. I mean, on the one hand, I do think it's unfortunate that we're now at a place where some people might actually be surprised that, what, you oppose the idea of children being taken forcibly from their parents? Yeah? That says a lot about where we are, doesn't it? Anyway, I don't ever want people to feel like they were taken in, and you know what, if you don't want to watch these, you are absolutely under no obligation, which you already know. This is for, if you want to participate, you're more than welcome to. I love hearing from you. But, yeah, I think I'm actually okay with maybe being a little bit disorganized. I mean, look at my stories, actually, quite frankly. And like I said, I'm still trying to figure out that whole branding thing. And it's hard to balance at times because, they say if you do a little bit of everything, you won't do anything well. But I will tell you, the original saying to the Jack of all trades, master of none, there's actually more to it. It's Jack of all trades, master of none, oftentimes better than a master of one. So take that for what you will. As far as writing goes, I promise you, readers, I actually have been doing a lot of writing, and it's coming very well. I actually have 2 shorts almost done for you. I've been invited to a couple more anthologies, so I'm going to see if I can get that rolled in there. And then, of course, Two Raw Chronicles is continuing to work, but I'm still trying to figure out some of the logistics with some of what I want to do. And there's a contest coming up. So anyway, I hope you're doing really well. I will talk to you later. Niihkas.